Running your own business is awesome. It's the dream, as they say. But it's very stressful as well. Customers, they'll see the front end, the products, the signs, the slogans, the happy owner. But it's the back end of the business that really drives the ship. The inventory management, the sales conversions, order processing and shipping. The business behind the business is the key to business. And for millions of businesses around the world, that business behind the business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. They're home of the #1 checkout on the planet, which is why so many businesses work with them. And Shopify brings the heat with their secret weapon, Shop Pay, which boosts sales conversions by up to 50%. And that means way fewer carts are being abandoned to checkout and way more sales are going. If you want to grow your business, you better be ready to sell anywhere and everywhere your customers are. Scrolling social media, on your website, in your store, and everywhere in between. It's no secret. Businesses that want to grow with Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Heinz and Mattel use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/RTG, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/RTG to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/RTG. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 288. And we're talking Castlevania Bloodlines for the Sega Genesis. It's kind of an evil system. Growing up, I hardly played Castlevania or Sega Genesis, but now in my golden years as a gamer, I've actually grown quite fond of both of them. All I ever played as a kid was the original Castlevania on the NES, but now I've played it, Super Castlevania 4, Symphony of the Night, Aria of Sorrow, Bloodlines, all good to great games in their own rights. That fucking Hidden Castle sucks, but whatever. But Super Castlevania 4 has been my favorite up to this point. That said, Bloodlines is giving it a run for its money. I really like this game. I don't know if it's my fetish for 16-bit video games or if it's just the way they play or what, but Castlevania is just one of those franchises that, in my opinion, just sparkles on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. It's so at home there, it's ridiculous. I have absolutely no idea what the storyline of this game is, but it doesn't matter to me. They're fun. You control people going through castles and factories and stuff, fighting dead things and trying to kill Dracula, I think. There's 2 playable characters this time around, which is very cool. They play a little bit differently, which is pretty cool. They get to access some different stages and stuff. Very neat. And it's all just a really fun, albeit tough video game. And Castlevania is always tough. And I don't think this is the toughest. I've beaten Castlevania 1 on the NES, and I think that game is tougher than this one. Even though I haven't beaten this one, I still think Castlevania 1 on the NES is tougher than Bloodlines. I love the graphics, the way this game looks. I just love the way Genesis games look. I don't know what it is about that console. For you Sega kids, boy, fuck, your games look good. I don't know what it is about them. Sonic, Streets of Rage, Gunstar Heroes, you name it, just Genesis games just pop. I love the way they look. I like the way this game plays. It's got awesome boss fights, and I guess my point here is that I'm just damned impressed with Bloodlines. It slots near the top of both my Castlevania rankings and my Genesis game rankings, alongside, I'm putting it in the Streets of Rage 2 Gunstar Heroes category, which are my favorite Sega Genesis games. I'm really stoked for this episode, as is Bradley McCue, who's become my go-to guest for all things Castlevania. He gave me a shout, and we talked about not only how good this game is, but he tried to teach me about the story a bit. Didn't really work all that well. And he told me about the end, because unlike me, he can beat this game. He's the best, I'm the worst. And we'll get there in just a minute, because speaking of being the worst, it's time for another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro.
Dun, 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 dun.
And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard and consider this your warning. Our intros are long, but they're fun. We talk video games and all that kind of stuff. They're good times. And they absolutely will not knock you back halfway across the screen when you run into them like everything in fucking Castlevania will. So if you do want to skip it, go to about the 30-minute mark, but really listen to the intro. We're talking video games and stuff. It's good times. I think our intros are fun. Most people that listen to them are like, hey, that wasn't bad at all. So fucking, it's not bad at all. That's how I would describe everything I do. Not bad at all. Not great, not bad at all. I got to get my plugs in. Let me keep the bills on around here. We have all kinds of merchandise, clothes, posters, mugs. You can find it all at rememberthegamepodcast.com. And it was all designed by my man Joe from 4545 Creative. So shout out to him, that talented sumbitch. And of course, if you don't like clothes, Patreon is probably the best way to support us and to get the best bang for your dollar. We have hundreds of bonus podcasts archived and waiting for you the second you sign up. They start at just $3 a month. You can listen to them on all your podcast services, including Spotify, which is sick. They're all ad-free, and it's pretty well the greatest deal in the history of the internet. Every Monday, Mark McCue and I talk The Simpsons on Purple Monkey Dishwasher. We're into season 3 now. The good seasons. Now it's getting good. Every Tuesday, I drop The Rambling Idiot, where I just talk about my life, comedy, career, TV, movies, sports, whatever I feel like. Every Friday, I'll tell you what's going on in modern games on Game Patch. It's my gaming news show. And Expansion Pass goes live every Thursday. For my money, it's the crown jewel of the Patreon crown. Hence the crown jewel. It's a different gaming show each week. We talk about modern games, old games. We do rankings. There's comedy episodes, hypotheticals, all kinds of stuff. This past week, it was Expansion Pass 201. The Patreons got to choose our topic, and the games we gave up on won the poll. And everyone's got them. That game or that series that just, for whatever reason, just broke you, and you said, 9, no more, fuck this, I'm out, I'm done. I talked about some of mine, and then I read a chunk of the almost 200 comments we got from our Patreons as well. Just a whole bunch of quitters over here. And as is becoming tradition, here is a sneak peek of last week's episode of Expansion Pass, the games we gave up on. Another game on my list that I officially quit, this one is a retro game, is Castlevania 2. I don't get it. I've tried it. I've probably tried it half a dozen times. I don't get it. I get the occasional comment from somebody being like, it's a brilliant game. There's a lot of puzzle solving, and there's cool, and it's a neat, and it's a cool, I think it is a cool concept, but when everybody is like, dude, you're gonna need a walkthrough, you can't beat this without a walkthrough, get yourself a walkthrough. I'm like, I don't want to fucking play it then. I have no interest in playing a game where I need to have my hand held by a walkthrough the whole fucking time. But every time I've tried to play Castlevania 2, I'm like, I have absolutely no fucking idea what is going on. And I won't quit a Castlevania game because it's hard. I like those games. I like Bloodlines. I like the original Castlevania. I'm good with the difficulty in them. But Castlevania 2 is just like, hey, you want to go shopping in this village? Sure, go figure out how. I don't know. It's on you. I'm like, fuck off. I still have Castlevania 3 that I can play. I still have the advanced games that I can play. Nay. So I have officially quit on Castlevania 2. So that's now available in our archives, and this week it's Expansion Pass 202, and it's one of my out-of-this-world space-age modern game reviews. I'm going to share my thoughts on Mario vs. Donkey Kong for the Nintendo Switch. I never played the original back when it came out, so I was excited to finally pick this one up and see what it's all about. I've just about 100%ed it, and I'll let you know if it passed the Adam Blank sniff test or not on tomorrow's episode of Expansion Pass. So again, Patreon subscriptions start at $3 a month to get new podcasts every week, instant access to hundreds of ad-free archive bonus podcasts, plus you can get into the Remember the Game Discord, the chance to vote in our Patreon polls each month. You can submit comments to be read on the shows. You can DM with me, and you even get a shout out and get to hear me mispronounce your name like I'm about to do to most of these people. A huge thank you to our newest Patreons. I am Error. I like that. Timothy Eichner. Sorry if I fucked that up, Timothy. Robert, Trenton Bland, Ricardo Gallo, Tanner McCauley, Dan Konikowski, Devin Collins, JBeck1518, The Grim Rooster, Eric Malicio? I like that. That sounds class. Malicio. And Devin Robertson. Thank you all so much for the support and welcome to Remember the Game Industries, patreon.com/rememberthegame. Don't forget, we offer annual subs that'll save you your 12th month's fees, and we donate 5% of our Patreon income to my Extra Life campaign every fall as part of the Stollery Children's Hospital, or for the Stollery Children's Hospital here at Edmonton. And finally, I have to remember to promote it. I'm on Twitch. I'm really trying to get serious about that. Twitch.tv/rememberthegame. Come by and say hi. It's good times. And I have Let's Plays from stuff I play on Twitch over at youtube.com/rememberthegame as well. All right, all kinds of content. I'm just puking up content all over the place. That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow some of you by blowing in some cartridges. It is our opening segment here on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our Patreons, usually gaming related, but not always. And we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
Let's blow. Our first blower this week is my arch nemesis, Soda Popinski, who said, Mr. Blank, long-time listener, first-time commenter. In a while. Have you ever bought a game blind just based off the cover art and later regretted it because it was a bad or a horribly bad game? So originally I was going to be like, buddy, tons. That was what the NES, SNES, Genesis, that's what those arrows were all about. No internet. You went in and bought it based on the box art. But the thing was, I couldn't really afford games back then. So I was just a stupid kid without a job. So I rented games based on the box art all the time, but very rarely did I buy one. I'm trying to think of what the first game that I just bought it blind based off the cover art. It wasn't just the cover art, but it was all the promotional stuff I saw in magazines. One of the first ones that really jumps out to mind to me is State of Emergency. Did any of you buy that? It was on the PS2, and the cover featured this guy in like a wife beater with like a red hat, and he kind of looked like Fred Durst, but he looked like angry, and it was like in every magazine. It was fucking everywhere. I went out and bought it because I was like, what's the hype with this game? And I'm sorry if any of you loved it, but like that game sucked. You just ran around mashing buttons and doing nothing, and it was State of Emergency, I think it was called. I fucking hate that goddamn game. That's probably the first one that really jumps off the page at me, because I like wrestling games. I bought just about every wrestling game I could get my hands on back in the day, and stuff like WWF Attitude was fuck. We liked it back in the day. That game was pretty shitty. That game was pretty bad. But yeah, up until the Nintendo 64, PS1 era, I didn't really have the money to buy my own games. And then I don't remember buying too many bad games for the PS1 or the Nintendo 64. But yeah, State of Emergency on the PS2. That is the first one that really jumps off the page to me, as one that I bought just based on like the hype and the cover art, not knowing anything about it. I got it home, was like, this fucking sucks. As far as renting games, oh god, the list goes on and on. Looking at you, Ghostbusters for the NES. That list, I could do a whole episode based on the bad games I played based on the box art that I rented and ruined a weekend of my childhood with. Fuck me. Gutters said, hey, Adam, I just listened to your Couch Co-op Expansion Pass podcast, and it really got me thinking of the countless nights me and my mates spent in my garage playing Smash Bros. Melee when we were younger. Now, before you say ooh-la-dee-da, Mr. Frenchman, and try to tell me it's a car hold, if you could add one character to the Smash rosters from any game, who would it be? Cheers from Melbourne, Australia, dude. I love Australia, where they punish people by kicking them in the bum. Mark my fucking words, I'm going to convince Shaylee that entire country is not just made of snakes and spiders, and I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get my goddamn Australian vacation someday. So this is tough because for as long as I can remember, I have been calling for Dixie Kong to smash, but I also really want Crash Bandicoot to smash, and I love both those animals so much. It's one of those two. It's either Dixie Kong or Crash. Waluigi is a distant third. I think I gotta go Dixie. Just fuck. But then we already have like Donkey and Diddy and K. Rool, and I'm gonna go Crash. Just because that poor Bandicoot gets no love. Whereas like at least Donkey Kong is represented in Smash Brothers. But I'd have to, depends on my mood. It's a 1A, 1B, coin flip, Dixie Kong or Crash. I would take either one. Crash Bandicoot is great, but Dixie Kong is the most OP, coolest, most powerful Kong. So she should be represented in that game. But there's no Crash Bandicoot in that game, and I really feel like his bounces and spins would work well in that game. But Dixie Kong's hairspin would also work well. But maybe they could use Dixie Kong as like an alternate costume on Diddy Kong, and then you could just use that extra spot for Crash. Yeah, it could be either one. I'm going to go Crash, but it could be either one. Phoenix Wrong said, so there is apparently a looming video game crash happening. I think the video game industry is fine, and I think it's just AI taking our jobs. Nice pull. What do you think? You know what? I don't know. I've seen this floated around too, that a video game crash is coming. I'm like, I don't know, because like, dude, how many developers have lost their jobs in the last 6 months? Like, it's thousands upon thousands upon thousands. But the industry is also just making major bank, and everything is selling like gangbusters and everything. So I don't know. I do think AI is playing a horrible role in this. Fuck AI. I fucking hate AI. I think AI is definitely a part of this. I don't think there's a full-blown video game crash coming. Video games are too big now. Everybody's playing them. They're mainstream. They're on everything. I don't think the crash is coming, but not to be like a fearmonger, but my heart goes out to game developers out there, because I think AI is going to fuck with them really hard, and I think it's scary. It's going to be scary times to be a game developer. So my best to everybody out there. But I don't think that the industry is crashing. It's not like the 80s or the 70s where there are all these like shitty consoles out there. Like, the consoles are great. The games are awesome. They're printing money. I don't think the crash is coming. I just think it's going to be a rough industry to work in, because AI is taking our jobs. Fucking AI. Donnie313 says, over the years, you've had followers with some great handles. My favorite would have to be Nutsack69420. Every time you read their name, I laugh. Do you have one that sticks out? I don't know if I'd have one, but I'm a big fan. I like the Simpsons quotes. When you guys sneak a Simpsons quote in there, that cracks, especially the more obscure Simpsons quotes. That makes me chuckle. I also like the ones that are like Adam Blank has it reviewed and then assert a game, or D's nuts, or whatever the fuck. Those would, yeah, at top of my head, those would probably be my favorites. But I love all of you. I love all of you. Minus one of you, and you fucking know who you are. Kareem the Dream said, hello, Mr. Blank. Just curious, at what point, if ever, do you think the Xbox One and PS4 games will be old enough to qualify for RTG? I know you do modern reviews on Expansion Pass, but those are mostly brand new releases. I'm specifically holding out hope that you'll do a Sunset Overdrive episode one day. When will I review PS4, Xbox One games on this show? I don't know. I don't know. I won't say never. I won't say never. Admittedly, probably not until the PS6, Xbox Cubed, or whatever the fuck their next system comes out is. That'll probably be when I start considering it. I get shit from people when we do PS3, Xbox 360 games. Not a ton, but I get shit. People are like, that's not retro. Yo, the PS3 came out in 2006. That's 18 years ago. 18 years ago from right now. You know what 18 years from when the NES launched was? 2003. Are you telling me the NES wasn't retro in 2003? The PS3 is retro. I'm sorry. PS3 and Xbox 360 are retro now. They are. So maybe by the time the PS6 and Xbox Omega or whatever the fuck it comes out, maybe that's when I'll sneak them in. Because I know there's some games out there people want reviews of. But I get yelled at for PS3. I'm terrified of what would happen if I did a PS4 or Xbox One review. Fuck. It'd be riots in the streets, pandemonium, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Oh, shout out to him who gets that reference. Fuck, I can't wait for that movie. The new one, I mean. Super Garbage Day now that you're back on the collecting monorail, what's the most ridiculous item you want to add to your collection that you absolutely cannot justify? Probably an Earthbound cart. Because I had one and I sold it like a dumbass. And with all the ways that game's accessible to me now, I don't know if I'll ever buy another copy. But I would fucking love another. I would love it. You know what? I'll put my cards. I would love it with the player's guide. Like, what a fuck up by me to sell that game. Choking on my own rage here. Probably Earthbound. John F. Ketamine said, Dear Mr. Blank, as a fellow GameCube collector, I want your input on a conundrum I have. I recently bought a GameCube lot that came with two games I already have, Mario Kart Double Dash and Metroid Prime. However, they are both variants that come with a bonus disc. Looking them up, they're both worth slightly more than my regular copies, but are in worse condition. Should I sell the variants for more money to buy more games, or hold on to them and let them appreciate in value? Do you? That's a hard thing for me to answer because it's all up to personal preference. I would say, if it was me, I don't really care about the bonus versions. So, and you said they're in worse conditions. So unless you're super attached, I would just flip those and buy more games that I want instead. I don't hold on. Even back in the day, and this is proved because I sold my fucking Earthbound like an idiot. I never held on to games because I thought they'd go up in value. I held on to them because I wanted to play them. So if I don't care about the extra content, then I would rather, on the extra disc, I would rather sell them and put that money toward more games. But that's me. It's different strokes for different pickles. Johnny Two Legs said, hey there, Mr. Blank. With all the Switch 2 speculation happening lately, I'm wondering if I'm alone in wondering what all the Switch 1 performance fuss is about. Look at any first-party game on the Switch and you'll be looking at an absolutely beautiful game, and this shows that the hardware is capable of running very high-quality titles. It's no secret that third-party games can chug on the Switch. I'm just having trouble understanding why the consensus is to shit on the console itself for having older-gen hardware and not on these developers for not knowing how to program their game for that hardware but going ahead and selling their games on Switch anyway. What say ye? Listen. I think the Switch has officially supplanted the Super Nintendo as my favorite console of all time. The lack of horsepower under the Switch's hood doesn't bother me at all. I'll hear an argument for stuff like Pokemon hasn't evolved over this entire generation. Why aren't we getting voice acting in some of these games? I'll hear that. People that are like, look at fucking Tears of the Kingdom. It's not even 60 frames per second. The grass doesn't even look like real grass. It looks like fake grass. It is fake grass. Who cares? Is the game fun? That is always what it comes down to for me. Is the game fun? If it's fun, then if it looks nice, that's just icing on the fries. Otherwise, just let me eat my fries. I don't fucking care how it looks. I just want to play it. Celeste is better than like 90% of the games out there right now, and it's not as fancy as any of them, but it's better. So is Shovel Knight. So is Hollow Knight. I think sometimes, dude, there's like a tweet going viral right now about somebody complaining that when you jump in the water in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and then you climb out of the water, you're not wet. And they're like, this is ridiculous. Fuck them. Fuck everybody. I'm burning PlayStation to the ground. You're a fucking idiot. Who cares? So no, I do think that some third party, I don't even know if it's third party developers that don't know how to program their game to run on the Switch. I think that they're just like, fuck, it probably is a major pain in the ass to tweak under the hood and get your game running on the Switch properly. Probably is a pain in the ass. And Nintendo has to listen. If Nintendo wants to keep releasing consoles that are half the power of their competitors, then they're gonna have to deal with that. That's on them. They have to know that backlash is coming. If you want to bitch about it, I have no problem with it. But I think people that write the Switch off because it's a Fisher Price toy or whatever the fuck because it's not powerful enough, then all right, then I'll be over here playing all these fun games while you're there looking at other ones. I don't give a fuck. I think the Switch is fine. I'm ready for a new one. I'm ready for a new system, but I think the Switch is fine. And finally, before we move on, it's letter time. It's letter time. This one just made me chuckle, so I don't have much to add. It just made me chuckle, so I'm sneaking it in. If you can make me laugh, you're probably getting on the show. Rush's Dog Walker wrote in and said, I just wanted to share a story. We had friends coming over to the house for game night, so I asked my son to clean up my office. He came out and said this was the only trash I found and opened the bag to show me my Sega Saturn with a big-ass cheese and smile. Moral of the story, I need to pay attention to when he's listening here. Bravo, Rush's Dog Walker Jr. For the record, because I always get asked, I don't even hate the Saturn. It's just become a joke for me to dunk on it. But that story made me laugh. Genuinely made me laugh out loud. So you get this prestigious letter time letter. Congratulations, Rush's Dog Walker. Or more importantly, Rush's Dog Walker's son. Now go walk the dog. That's good shit. Thank you for all the submissions, everybody. Now, before we get into the official game show of Remember the Game Industries, I'd like to take just a moment to talk about an official partner of Remember the Game Industries, and that is Arcade. Listen up. Listen. They're a new online arcade where you play spins on classic games, and you can win cash prizes if you win. This isn't like those fake $1 million checks you used to get in the mail. This is legitimate. Imagine like a classic arcade where you put a quarter in to compete for a high score glory, but you can also win real money at the same time. It's pretty sick. They're a young startup. I've been talking with them for a while now. I genuinely think this is an awesome concept, and the games are actually really fun. Now, they're still in their alpha phase, but you can play their first couple games right now at Arcade.io for free. They've launched with 2 playable games, Cade Runner, which is an endless runner like Cube Runner, and my favorite, Ye Olde Pong, which is like a mashup of Flappy Bird and Pong, where you click the screen to bounce the ball, or the onion in this case, into the paddles on either side of the screen for as long as possible. They're aiming to release more games and more features over the next few weeks, like a spin on Space Invaders and player matchmaking. You can also play them on any browser, on PC, Mac, mobile, anything works. And these guys are old like me, so they have an appreciation for how simple games used to be. As everybody knows, I hate playing games on my PC, but stuff like this, quick and easy to pick up, I understand this. I sunk half an hour into Ye Olde Pong yesterday. Like I said, right now, Our Arcade is in their alpha phase. They're trying to build a community, so they're giving away free credits every day that you can use to compete for actual cash. And listen, this is so cool. Listen to this. They've set up a leaderboard for Remember the Game Industries. If you enter promo code HOTDOG, one word, into the secret Cade Genie, I love that pull, section of the site, you'll get some extra credits and get a spot on the Remember the Game leaderboard. So I think that's sick. So you can compete against me and the other hot dogs. And to encourage you to try it out, I'm going to shout out the folks at the top of the leaderboard on next week's Remember the Game. And that code will get you some credits to play with every day this week, with a new code dropping next week. I'm not trying to BS you guys or anything here, okay? I'm always honest. I really, genuinely do think Our Arcade is an awesome idea. The games are legitimately fun, and I'm stoked that they've decided to partner with RTG to help launch this thing. I've tossed a link in the description of this podcast as well. I highly, highly recommend you check it out. Go to ourarcade.io today to compete totally free for cash prizes and use the cheat code HOTDOG to get even more credits and access to the Remember the Game leaderboards. That's ourarcade.io, ourkade.io, with cheat code HOTDOG. It's really sick. I'm going to be working with them for a while. I hope you'll check it out. I'm genuinely, I've had so much fun with these little games. The description's in the podcast. Check it out. It's sick. All right. Let's switch up and get to our Smash Hit segment, the official game show of Remember the Game Industries. Play one, remake one, erase one. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. Now, before I get into it, Stupid Sexy Flanders wrote in and said, so what happens when Classic Concentration has knowingly, unknowingly provided the theme music for the show? I assume that everybody involved with Classic Concentration is long retired. But if they ever do catch us, I don't know. Maybe I'll hire Nintendo's lawyers. I'm not sure. The rules are simple. Every week I give our listeners 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released, remake one as a modern game, and the third is erased from time forever. As always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a right one. We'll get to that in a second. This week we're talking Castlevania Bloodlines for the Genesis, so I went with 3 more Genesis Konami games. You have Rocket Knight Adventures, Contra Hard Corps, and Sunset Riders. And this one was close, but 26% said they play Rocket Knight Adventures, remake Sunset Riders, and erase Contra. So let's see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'll tell you what the right answer was. The Grim Rooster said, admittedly, I have not played any of these games. I almost played Contra because that's one of the only ones in the series I haven't beaten, but I'll play Rocket Knight. We are already getting a remake, but even if we weren't, the graphics were already so good we don't need one. I'll remake Contra just to save me from having to drop $70 on a Sega cart, and I'm going to erase Sunset Riders. I didn't even make it through the opening cinematic before making this decision. Who's ever heard of a badass cowboy named Steve? I would love to argue with that, but that is pretty sound logic, actually. That I can't fight with that. Well done, Rooster. Well done. Tadpole said this one was pretty easy. Play Sunset Riders. I never played it. Seems fun, and I can't make good judgment on whether it needs a remake until I've experienced it. Number 2, a remake Rocket Knight. This game is so good. I remember playing it for hours and hours, but never beating it. Giving it a modern upgrade to controls, graphics, and quality of life would be amazing. And then erase Contra. There are better Contra games out there. We have a ton of them, and this one won't be missed. Salute to the series, but rules exist. Yet thank you for playing by them. I appreciate that. There are a lot of Contra games. I get that. Goatmaster said, Jesus Christ, dude. They're making this so hard. I'll play Sunset Riders because 4-player co-op is always fun. I'll remake Contra because a modern good Contra game would be amazing. And I'll erase Rocket Knight because them's the rules. I'm choking on my own rage here. That's my line. This is anyone but Mo Sislak. You stole my bit. That's good shit. Dude, for the record, there is a new Contra coming soon. I downloaded the demo a couple weeks ago. It's actually not bad. I'm intrigued by the new Contra. The demo is pretty dope. And Brando Osimo said, play Rocket Knight because it's a game I discovered later on in life and it's not imprinted in my memory at this point. It's a fun little gem. I'll remake Contra Hard Corps. This game is a game I've had since I was a kid, so it's one of those games that required you to play it over and over again. The bosses and their strategies are imprinted into my brain, making the game very beatable. A new challenging remake would just make this game even better than it already is. And then erase Sunset Riders because it was non-existent in my childhood life. It continues to be non-existent in my adult years. Maybe I'm missing out on a great game, but I would never know, so bye-bye. I hate when people erase games they haven't played, but I get it. I'm actually going with the majority this week, the 26% of you, as did Nostalgio, who said, buy the new Resparked collection and play Rocket Knight Adventures. Remake a new gen Sunset Riders arcade. The SNES version was okay, but I love that 4-player arcade cabinet, and a full arcade remake would be awesome. And sorry, Hard Corpse with a P. I'll just have to play another Contra game in the series because you seem to have been reluctantly erased from time and space. Different reasoning, but I'm going to do the same. I'm going to play Rocket Knight Adventures because it just looks awesome, and everyone keeps telling me it's right up my alley. I'm intrigued by it. I'm going to remake Sunset Riders because I have no idea what it is, but it easily has the best box art of the three. And I'm going to erase Contra Hard Corpse because I'm sure it's fine, but I don't love Contra 3 on the SNES. Plus, that way people will stop yelling at me for saying corpse instead of core. It's corpse, and I'll die on that hill. Thank you so much, everybody. What have I been playing over oh, you know what? No, here's what we're going to do. Let's pause here. I need a drink of water. We'll let a sponsor come in and peddle their wares. Then I'm going to tell you what I've been playing, and we'll get into some Castlevania Bloodlines. All right, we'll be right back. We've had some great partners over the years here at Remember the Game, but I don't know if any of them have hit home for me quite like Hometown Hero does. No pun intended. Don't start. It's a transparent, honest cannabis company that helps people and gives back to those that have served their country at the same time. I mean, come on. As soon as I read about these guys, I knew I wanted to work with them. Hometown Hero is a cannabis company out of Austin, Texas, and they were founded back in 2015 by a U.S. veteran. They have two goals: create premium hemp products that can help everyone, and to support veterans by donating a portion of those profits to organizations set up to take care of those who have served. Hometown Hero products are of the highest quality, and everything they offer is made right there in the U.S. of A. Gummies, caramels, chocolates, drink mix. There's something for everyone. And what's more, their hemp is grown locally in Texas, which is something they should and do take a lot of pride in. And they offer certificates of analysis for everything they sell because they want to be clear that their products are as advertised, both in terms of potency and ingredients. No contaminants, you get what you pay for. Just how they conduct business is enough to get my good eyes' attention, but when you circle back to the fact that the company was founded by a veteran and they put such heavy emphasis on supporting veterans, this isn't just lip service. I'm not reading a script I was given here. I'm proud to have Hometown Hero associated with Remember the Game. Reclaim your evening. Visit hometownhero.com and use code RTG to take 20% off your first purchase. That's hometownhero.com, code RTG for 20% off your first purchase. This is an ad by BetterHelp. A band once said, "Work sucks, I know." And I think most people agree with them. Workplace stress is now one of the top causes of declining mental health, with 61% of the global workforce experiencing higher than normal levels of stress from their jobs. And while walking away from your job might not be an option, taking a little time every day to focus on yourself and your mental health can make a huge difference. I know in the summer I try to get outside every day, get a little bit of sun, and just enjoy the outdoors. It really helps. At least until my allergies attack, and then it's ugly. It's important to take steps to combat work stress, and therapy can be a huge one. It's not just for overcoming trauma. Therapy can help you define work goals, set some work boundaries, develop coping skills. It's like a cheat code for life. And if you're thinking, man, I'm too busy for therapy, well, look into BetterHelp. They make therapy as convenient as possible. You can meet with one of their over 30,000 therapists online and on your schedule, just like over 5 million people around the world already have done. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/rememberthegame. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. All right, what have I been playing over the last week? Truth be told, a lot. I've been playing Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Switch. Pretty well done it with all the extra levels and everything. Going to review it tomorrow. I've been playing Balatro, that poker roguelike that is fucking awesome. It's fucking really sick. I'm really enjoying it. Look it up if you like poker or card roguelikes. It's really, really good. It's just hard to buy in some places right now, but hopefully that gets fixed quickly. We'll get into that on Game Patch on Friday. I've been playing Castlevania Bloodlines, which you're about to hear my thoughts on. Pretty good game. I've been playing Maniac Mansion on the NES and a little bit on my PC. We'll be reviewing that on Remember the Game next week, FYI. And of course, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and because everyone keeps asking me, so far it's been everything I want it to be. I'm only about 6 or 7 hours in, but so far so good. It is fucking superb. All right? That's it. Let's talk Bloodlines. That's why you're here. As always, I like to let you nerds sound off on the game we're covering before my guest and I hog the microphone. So let's get to some of your comments. SNES Life said a fantastic game. One of the games that shows what could be done on the Genesis by a team of dedicated developers. I agree. I've said it before. Outside of Sonic, Gunstar Heroes, Streets of Rage 2, and now Castlevania Bloodlines are probably the 3 games I would pick to show off what the Genesis is capable of that I have played so far. I'm sure there's more out there. Timmy, the Exuberant Turtle, said, great entry and a great series. The setting is great, the music is some of the best in the series, and you get 2 fun and distinct playable characters. Konami was late to the Genesis, but when they showed up, us Sega kids were eating good. Well said, Timmy. Well done. That was an exuberant statement. Well done. Baldo Flores said, late comer to this game, but it is absolutely amazing. From the levels of blood, the multiple characters, exotic locales, amazing graphics. This is the type of games us SNES geeks would insult yet. This is the type of game us SNES geeks would insult, yet secretly envy. I wish more Castlevanias would take this route instead of only doing the castle. My only complaint is the flimsy whip sound. It's not as satisfying as 4's cracking swish, but the rest of it more than makes up for it. Well said. I still think Super Castlevania 4 could go toe-to-toe with this, but both great games. And Vader Maximus said, absolutely love Bloodlines. The colors and the style just pop. I played through it for Halloween, and even now, it still has me thinking, wow, that's cool as fuck. One of my favorite parts is the spinning tower where you fight the demon at the top. Everything's spinning, the music is pumping, it's strange, hectic music as you try to time your jumps to avoid projectiles with getting the hits, then bam, you get the last blow in and you go screaming into the void below. Castlevania 4 is my all-time favorite, but the bosses in Bloodline are much more of an event. I'll shut the fuck up now because I could ramble on about this one forever. Well, that's what Bradley McCue and I are about to do, my friend. Thank you, everybody, for writing in. Let's get to it. I'm going to queue up some Castlevania Bloodlines tunage. And when it stops, Bradley and I are going to take a look back at Bloodlines from the Castlevania franchise, which originally released on the Sega Genesis in North America on March 17, 1994. Enjoy the podcast, everybody. Let's go. All right, joining me via the blank phone this week to talk Castlevania Bloodlines is a frequent friend. I would put you in the best friend of the show category at this point. You've been on it enough, and that is my friend Bradley McCue, who you haven't heard from in about 2 weeks. Everybody, before we get into Castlevania at all, Bradley, how are you? How's life?
I'm doing really good, but I do want to ask a really specific question because you said now I've become a best friend of the podcast at this point. At what point am I allowed in the Hall of Fame? Do I have to take back things that I said? I don't want to. I'm not going to.
Nothing you've done has banned you from the Hall of Fame. It's become a very controversial topic because last year on my 24-hour stream, your brother and I beat Super Mario World on stream together, and Mark delivered the crushing blow to Bowser. And the stipulation was if you beat Bowser on this run, you're back in the Hall of Fame, and he did it. But Molly, our CEO, is actually in charge of the application processing, and she is just fucking Mark's paperwork around. So I'm not opposed to putting you in. Getting it through the CEO is just.
I thought that like I was under the impression that anybody who likes Mario's Missing is not welcome, and I just simply couldn't have that.
No, not at all, not at all. It's the person that spent a sizable portion of his life trying to convince me that it doesn't suck. That's the one. That's what offended me. That motherfucker.
Okay, I'll keep my Mario's Missing opinions to myself from now on.
Please do. Yes.
Great soundtrack.
No, it is a good soundtrack. I'll give it that. Doesn't make up for everything else, but it is a good soundtrack. We're talking Castlevania Bloodlines, and what's funny about this game is sometimes I know right away who I'm going to call up when I want to bring them on the show for an episode or whatever the fuck. I knew I was going to cover this game, but I genuinely didn't have any guests lined up. I'd posted it. I was like, I don't remember anybody mentioning this game to me. I don't remember. I know you like Castlevania, but I don't remember you being like a Sega Genesis kid. And I was like, I guess I might do this one solo. And as soon as I posted about it, you were like, hey, Adam, I'd love to talk about Bloodlines. I was like, fuck yeah. Cool. That's awesome. And then like 3 hours later, you text me, you were like, beat it again. I'm ready. And I was like, holy fuck, like 3 hours. What the fuck? So let's start there, Bradley. Why the affection And where in the shit did you get introduced to Castlevania Bloodlines?
Oh man, that is an excellent question. So I got introduced to Castlevania Bloodlines probably, God, like late 2000s, because when you were right, I was not a Sega kid. I was a Super Nintendo kid. So
Okay.
I grew up with what are the ones? Super Castlevania 4, of course, which I'm gonna do
Yeah.
a lot of comparison to because I think the Bloodlines and Castlevania 4 have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
And then Dracula X, which I've never actually beat. I should go back and finish Dracula X. And then when I got into kind of like just taking a look around to make sure no FBI are listening, when I got into emulation
Ooh.
and playing some I like emulated or I soft modded my Wii to play Sega Genesis games. I picked this one up and I can't believe that this game wasn't available to me when I was a kid, and I'm pissed off about it because it's very good. This is an extremely good Castlevania game.
It is really good. Okay. First of all, I feel redemption that you like. No, I wasn't a Sega kid because when you reached out, I was like, am I crazy? Like, I've never heard Mark or you be like, "Oh, dude, we played Sega Genesis all the time." Okay, because I've been like sweating that. I'm like, "Dad, have I been ignoring you guys in your Sega Genesis heritage?" But no, I haven't. Okay, um, I agree with that. I listen. Growing up, all I played was the original Castlevania, and then since I started the show, I played Super Castlevania 4, this one, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, and then I beat the original Castlevania. And I like all of them. Listen, I know I was critical of Symphony of the Night. I don't give a fuck that Hidden Castles bullshit. We're not going down that road again. Other than that, that game's fine. I thought Aria of Sorrow was great. Super Castlevania 4 is my favorite Castlevania. And I
Really?
agree. Yeah, it is. Because I just love dude, I'm such a like Mega Man X, Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, my favorite RPGs. Just I'm all about that 16-bit. That's just me. I love it. And
Yeah,
that's the
I feel
secret
that. I feel
sauce.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the spice. And I fired this one up, and I've always been fascinated by this one because I like Castlevania, and I've really grown quite fond of the Genesis, and I wanted to see what they could do with this franchise that I know so well from Nintendo. And I agree. It's almost impossible to talk about without comparing it to Super Castlevania 4, but I can sit here and safely say it's definitely my top two now. It's Castlevania. It's Castlevania Bloodlines and Super Castlevania 4. I need to let this one simmer for a bit before I decide what my number one is. But this is a fucking dude. Castlevania was made for 16-bit.
Yeah.
It plays so. I know Symphony of the Night's fine. I know Aria of Sorrow is great. I guess Aria of Sorrow is kind of 16-bit, but
Yeah,
like,
it's 16-bit, I think.
yeah, that Super Nintendo Sega Genesis era, like both these games are just. I think this is as good as Castlevania gets. So good, so playable. Occasionally frustrating, but that's fine. That's what I come to expect.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I think that's fine. And I think it's important to note that you use the word occasionally. It is occasionally frustrating but for the most part, in my opinion, this is not that insane of a game comparatively to some of the other Castlevania games.
no, and you know what? So the two things I hate the most about Castlevania is I hate the stairs in
Mhm.
Castlevania games, and I
Agreed.
hate
When
the
the
Medusa
water's
heads.
rising,
Oh, the
there's like
fucking
that part.
Medusa heads. Yeah,
Oh,
those are the two things I hate. And I have to say, the stairs in this one, sure they're there, like that one level where you're trying to rush up the stairs where the water's rising. But what I hate about the stairs in Castlevania, it's not so much climbing them, although I do find climbing stairs in Castlevania awkward as fuck. And
mhm,
that's not what bothers me. What bothers me is that Castlevania games have the infamous knockback. When you get hit by an enemy, you seem to fly back twice your body length for some reason. Like you
totally.
go backwards like 5 feet. And if you happen to get hit at the top of a set of stairs, then you do the bounce back onto the stairs. And despite the fact that physics and everything were there when you literally just climbed them to get to the top of the edge, if you get bounced back onto them, you go straight through like a bag of cement and you die. And I didn't find that happen like hardly at all in this game. The stairs were still stupid, but I didn't find myself getting knocked back onto them repeatedly. So that's one of the reasons I like this game so much is I didn't find the stairs particularly fucky.
I completely agree. However, I will say one thing I don't like about the stairs specifically in this game is that to me it felt like the way you got onto the stairs was a little inconsistent. Like sometimes if I'm standing at the bottom and I push up, he starts going up the stairs and sometimes he just stands there like an idiot. And then sometimes if you jump and land on a stair, you're good. But
Yeah, I
sometimes
found
you
that
just
too.
fall right through.
Yeah. Oh, the stairs are again like I still I don't listen. I if there I would genuinely like to know if there's a gamer out there that doesn't think Castlevania is at least like a Hall of Fame contender series in video games. Like it's
Yeah.
just, it's one of the, Metroidvania is my favorite genre outside of platformers, and it's literally half of the name. Like Castlevania games are very, very important, and they're pretty good. They're usually pretty polished and pretty fun to play. Why on earth the stairs have to be so fucky in Castlevania? I don't understand. Like
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Or even the Medusa heads. Like at this point, like we've made it very clear we don't want them. Please stop. Even like I've been playing Dawn of Sorrow, and I went to say that's a more recent Castlevania game, but even that's pretty old now. And I've been playing that a little bit, and I'm like, God damn, the Medusa heads are here again.
Man. I hate them so much. Now, but again, and that's I think one of the things I like about Bloodlines is like the only time I found them particularly frustrating were in stage 6, where the level, and we'll get into the individual stages, but stage 6 where there's like the top and the bottom are like the front camera, and then the back is like behind. And you're trying to platform with the Castlevania heads coming at you, or the Medusa heads, excuse me, coming at you. That was the only time in the game I found them particularly obnoxious.
There's another sequence where you're like on the logs and the water's falling, and you have to go from left to right to right to left for left to right to get down.
Yeah, you're riding the logs down. Yeah,
I didn't find the Medusa heads to be incredibly difficult to avoid in that area because you're constantly moving, and so that I really didn't have much of a beef with.
No, and then there's like, because they also show up at that one point where you're climbing that blue tower that's like rocking back and forth or whatever the fuck.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because it's 16-bit and like they're bigger than they are on like the NES or something. I don't know, but like I didn't find them all that. They were more of just an inconvenience as opposed to like, this is almost making me rage quit the game.
And that's why
they do in the first game.
That's why I was able to just like sit down and pound through this game in just like a singular sitting, because this game is pretty hard, like a Castlevania game, but it's so accessible, with a few exceptions, and I want to go over some of those exceptions.
Absolutely, yeah.
This game is exceptional, or this game is really forgiving if you know how to make the game be forgiving, and I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. There is an insane system in this game where essentially you have X amount of lives, and then you game over, and then you can continue X amount of times. But at the end of every stage, you get a password that brings you to the beginning of that stage. But unfortunately, every time you run out of continues, they game over, they send you back to the main screen. And at that point, really, your only punishment for gaming over is having to go to the password screen and type in your damn password again. So I don't understand. If I run out of continues, just put me at the beginning of the level I'm at, because I'm just going to go and damn it, dude.
So now, okay, that's fascinating, because like I literally just thought of this while we were sitting here. You were talking about that, because I had that written down as well. I haven't played every Castlevania game, but of the old ones, like Castlevania, like I've beaten Castlevania 1 on the NES. Thanks to the fact that it is infinite continues. I have a let's play of it up on YouTube. If you're in youtube.com/remember the game, if you're interested, with a montage where I die to the death. I literally die at the hands of death about 3 trillion times, and then it's continue, start over, get back there, rinse and repeat. And I was gonna say that like I find this game odd that they eliminated the continue system. You're right, you have 2 continues, I think, and then it's a password. And it's like, why give me a goddamn password when I could just continue? But I will, and I just came to this realization. This was a Genesis game. It's easy to sit here and play it on the Switch or something and have save states and stuff like that. As a kid who would have to turn this off and go to school or go to bed or something like that, I'll hear the argument for passwords over endless continues on a game where I can't save. I literally
That's
just
a fair
thought
point,
of that.
actually. That's actually a really fair point.
Because I agree with you. I will still say, I don't understand the point of taking out the infinite continues. Like, still just let me continue until I have to turn it off. And then if I have to turn it off, I have a handy password. I still don't get why you'd eliminate the continues. But
so here's what I did, because I'm gonna be honest. I did use a little bit of save stating at the beginning of stages, because I just hate the idea of playing a stage that I've already played just because the game thinks I ought to be punished.
Looking at you, lost levels. You fucking...
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. That wound is still fresh. I'm sorry.
Playing the Super Nintendo version of Lost Levels, but so what I did was that A, yes, I did use a little bit of save stating, but B, I found a password on the old internet that gave me the max amount of continues and the max amount of lives, because that's just how the game should be anyways. And I didn't end up like running out of continues at all once I did that, and I was able to just marathon the game after that.
Well, and what's cool too is like, I don't consider myself anywhere near like an expert in the world of Castlevania, but like I don't remember a ton of them having difficulty settings. Maybe the ones I'm most familiar with is the original NES one, and it didn't. But I like that this one's got easy, normal, hard, and then you can set how many lives you have and stuff like that. I think that's because I guarantee you there are kids that this was their very first Castlevania game.
Totally.
You got it for Genesis. It's got fucking spectacular looking box art. I'd buy this game. So this could be someone's first Sega Genesis or first Castlevania game, and maybe you don't know what exactly you're getting yourself into. So I like that it has those sliders to be able to set the difficulty and stuff like that. I think that was a quite ingenious decision to add that stuff. And I will say the difference between playing even it on easy and normal, I noticed it's like there is a difference in the difficulty settings of this game.
Oh, I didn't really muck about with the difficulty settings. I just
Oh.
mucked about with continues and lives and shit.
So, well, where I found it was I was playing it on normal, and I don't remember what stage number it is, but you know the part where you have to climb all those stairs and those like skeleton dragon things are hounding you?
Oh, I hate those guys, but yes.
Yeah. So on normal, they're flying around and they're just out of range of your weapon a lot of the time. They're fucking with you and it's really frustrating. On easy, so I died and then I looked up a password because I was out of saves and I didn't write down my password. So I looked up the password to get back there, put it in, and realized the password must be set to easy because then I was going up the stairs and those dragon skeleton things literally would fly into the screen and just sit right in front of me, fully in range of my weapon and just like wait for me to kill them. And I was like, this is. So I played the game on normal because I was like, easy has become a little bit too. This is a little too easy for my taste.
It's a little nerfy for my taste. A little nerfy.
So I played it on normal, and I'll be honest, I can get to the fight in stage 6 where it's like the Grim Reaper with all the cards, and I have game overed on that fight twice. That's as far as I've gotten. So, but I don't think there's much after that, though.
Boy, yeah. Oh, and you know what? Like, I actually really love that boss fight with Death. It's like one of my favorite Castlevania boss fights. So you didn't end up like fighting like the Countess Elizabeth Bartley, or you like Dracula or anything like that?
No, that's as far. I did look up like the ending of it, but like that's as far as I could get was that fight.
That's a fair point to pop off, like especially stage 6, because stage 6 is the last level of this game, and I will say that while I find the game pretty accessible, that last level sure has bite. It sure does have it. It's got the Castlevania bite that you'd expect. What I do love about this game is that, and I think we mentioned this with Castlevania 4, but the boss fights in this game, with the exception of a few, I would say like Death is pretty hard, Dracula is pretty hard. Most of the bosses are pretty easy.
They are. I really awesome, like really great designs. They look killer. But I found that too, and I was like, man, these are like, I was like, maybe I just got good, but I don't think that's the case. I'm like, I think these bosses are just really easy.
I think the game is actually like rewarding you for playing through the difficult levels. And that's how I felt about Castlevania 4. I think it works fantastically here because you do get those big giant boss fights, and most of them probably will take you a couple of tries at least, but probably not much more than that.
No, they're the only boss prior to the death, that motherfucker. The only boss that gave me any kind of trouble other than that one was the boss at the top of that set of stairs, that like demon thing.
Oh, like the bat with the
when you're standing on the top of the tower and you don't have a lot of room to move around.
Yeah, I also died quite a bit on that one.
Okay, good. Yeah, that one for some reason I was like, you seem oddly out of place. And you know what's crazy too is that like I think that that's I think that might be the lamest design of the bosses because it doesn't do anything cool like a lot of the other ones, and it happens to be the hardest. Around. Yeah, like the fucking like I for my money, I think it's the easiest boss in the game, but I also think maybe it's the coolest one. Is that giant rock guy where you have to chip away at his body and you're not even hurting him because you have to break his body down till his head comes down where the glowing orb is inside it, and then you hit the orb. And I can kill him without him even touching me. He's not hard at all, but he's just so cool to watch him just slowly fall apart.
Yeah,
while you're hacking away at him.
I actually also love that boss. Another boss I really, really love is that in the factory level, there's like a boss that's like a giant orb that has this like body made out of gears and
Yeah.
like and he like throws gears at you. I found that one again like pretty manageable, but just hard enough. For the rest of them, like most of the rest of the bosses I'd say in this game are mostly forgettable. Like there's a lot of like big knight in red armor, big knight in green armor.
Yeah.
You know,
What
lots
what I
of
what I like about them though is at least they like the one of the very first ones you fight is like the knight in blue, and it's the Monty Python thing. As you're hacking away at it, it's losing like its arms and its legs and
yeah,
it's falling apart, and then it can't
but a
attack
flesh
as
wound.
well. Yeah, yeah. I think that was like you're right. Like the boss is forgettable because it's just, oh, here comes another knight. But like I like that they at least it's not just you don't just hit them until they die. They show like wear and tear, like they're falling apart as you're beating on them. I thought that was I really liked it. And again, like, and because I agree with you, I think the second coolest boss is that orb with the cogs around it.
Mhm.
That just felt like such a Sega Genesis thing. Like it reminded me of Vector Man, maybe. I don't know. And I'm not complaining. I love the way Sega Genesis games look. And I was like, that is one of the coolest looking, because all those cogs look 3D, like they're spinning around and he's throwing them at him and stuff with this orb right in the middle, and he transforms into different machines and tries to attack you. And I agree. I thought that was a really cool looking boss fight as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good one. And you know what? Like knowing where you stopped, which was at the death boss fight. Honestly, there's not much after that anyways. Like I'd say probably like 20, 30 minutes after that. There's like a boss fight with I'm trying to remember here. I think I like you fight Elizabeth Bartley and Dracula for sure, but I think there's another boss fight in there. It's like I think it's Medusa or something like that. But
Yeah, that was
um
what I saw on my when I watched. It looked like, because yeah, he fought like a woman that turned into what I assumed was Medusa,
yeah,
like a
like
giant snake
yeah,
demon
yeah, yeah, yeah,
lady
yeah.
thing.
The big
Yeah,
green giant snake. Yes, yes, yes. The Elizabeth Bartley boss fight I found like really, really easy. But I think it's really just supposed to be there as like a precursor to fighting Dracula. And
right.
here, this is my one of my favorite things about this game is that despite like I think this game's like the way it paces its difficulty is fantastic. The curve is really, really accessible, and I love when games do this. The last boss is the hardest part of the game. I love when games do that because I'll tell you, I just played another game where the last boss was easy as hell, and I was just kind of like, oh, all right, whatever. But
See,
when
now
I
it's funny because I despise boss fights as a general. I'm prejudiced against video game bosses. Like I hate
insane,
90% of
insane.
them. And so I like a nice easy. I'm like, that's my reward. I get to the end and then just like, here you go. Ah, that's nice. Because I get
Yeah.
anxious when I get to a final boss.
But I'll
Because I'm
tell you,
like gonna rage quit.
I was sitting here playing, and my wife is like sitting beside me and just kind of like passively observing me playing Castlevania, and she must have watched me play the Dracula boss fight, 50 times. And when I finally hit that last blow, she was like, "I saw that whole thing. That was amazing."
It is a good feeling too when you beat. Like I've always assumed, like I don't play the Souls games, but I've always assumed that's the turn on about them. Is finally
Yeah,
getting by somebody that's just been feeding you your lunch for 3 days.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly, exactly. And
yeah.
like even in like PlayStation 1 and Super Nintendo RPGs when you're like stuck on a boss for like 3 days and you have to walk away and then you come back and beat it. It's just like so much like endorphins just
Yeah.
released all at once.
We've been trying to come up with an official name for the phenomenon of when you can't beat something in a game and you try and try and try and try and then leave and then beat it on the first try when you come back. And we've all been there, and we've been trying to come up with a cool name for that phenomenon because it is like the best feeling and the most frustrating feeling at the same time. Because you're
Totally.
like, why was this beating me so much? That wasn't that hard. But the longer you sit there and bash your head against the wall, the more frustrated you get, the more mistakes you make, the more it kills you. And then it just turns into a vicious cycle of rage. So,
Which is also fine when you're playing video games.
oh,
I don't
absolutely. Yeah.
dislike a vicious cycle of rage.
No, no, no. It's rage is part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, to your point too, I want to agree with you. Like, I think the difficulty scaling in this, like, Dude, this is just classic games done right. Like World 1, like Stage 1, the first time I ever beat this game, like I caked walked through Stage 1. And I'm like,
Mhm.
there you go. That's Castlevania. And then I think I don't know, I might have died once in Stage 2, but I'm like, all right, there we go. I found I really, frankly, I didn't find the difficulty really, really picked up until 5, 6.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
there is a substantial jump. Not a game-breaking jump, but a substantial jump in those last 2 stages.
Totally. And the sixth one is particularly unforgiving, I find, like when you're actually in the castle.
Yeah.
Um,
But I also think it's like the coolest looking. Like
yes.
if you've never played it, everybody, it's like the camera is cut into 3 strips horizontally, and the top and the bottom line up, and it's like they're closer to you. Like your character's
Oh,
body is bigger and the enemies are bigger, but then the middle strip is like further back and darker, and everything is smaller. And you're kind of trying to platform through this area, fighting these Medusa heads and stuff, while trying to like you can't make the jump with the 2 in the front, but that one that's at the back, the jump's not as big. That one can make the jump. That part of your, it's really hard to explain unless you've seen it. But I thought it was a really cool looking
and
part of the level.
and you know what? I was actually going to bring this up, and I'm going to be honest. This is a part of the game I think doesn't work very well.
Really,
Yeah,
I thought
and
it was sick.
I've got reason for that. So, like, I'm going to compare this to Castlevania 4 again really quickly because Castlevania 4 and Castlevania Bloodlines are really interesting because it's clear Konami was like, we have 2 different pieces of hardware. Let's see what we can do with each piece of hardware. And it's just really clear to me that, like, they were trying really interesting stuff, but the stuff they could do with the Super Nintendo was just better. You know, like how, like in particular, like thinking about Castlevania 4, like when you grab onto those hooks with your whip and the entire room pivots around you,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
cool. And then like when you're running on like those spinning logs, it's been a while since I played Castlevania 4, but like those spinning logs, and some of it's in the foreground, some of it's in the background. It felt to me that, like, even though I think that Castlevania Bloodlines is more fun to play and has a better story than Castlevania 4, I think that the Super Nintendo specific stuff works better than the Sega Genesis specific stuff. And there's 2 examples. Number one is the one that you just mentioned, where you have the 3 strips across the screen. I thought that was so bizarre and frustrating and weird. But there's also another one, and it's in stage 2. And stage 2 has like sort of this water reflection thing on it that I just think looks like shit, bro. I think it looks terrible because it's just clearly a reflection. It doesn't look like water. It just looks like the stuff above you is also below you for some reason. I don't know. I think that the console specific stuff works way better in Castlevania 4.
I will say I like the thing that sticks out to me from Castlevania 4 is that level where you're almost in like a tunnel that's rotating.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I agree that I do think that's cooler than anything Bloodlines does. But I did really enjoy that, like, because I died a couple of times in that part in World 6, and I was like, fuck, why, how the fuck do I make that jump? And then I realized that, like, oh, my legs in the bottom are standing at the edge of a platform, but if I look at the background, my torso is very close to the next platform. So if I jump, my body will get to that next platform in that background tier, even though it doesn't look like it's going to from the front. And I thought it was really neat once I wrapped my head around it. It just fucked me around it at first. Then afterwards, it like does the shit where you're on the roof and all that kind of stuff, and it kind of goes a little zany.
Gets a little
But
sideways. My big
yeah,
issue with that is that I found that I couldn't really gauge where on the screen the Medusa heads actually were. So
me too.
sometimes I'd be like, okay, I can see where my feet are. I can make this jump, and I'll go to make the jump, and then a Medusa head will come out of nowhere, smack me off the cliff, bounce
Yeah.
back, balls.
Fucking
Sucks.
dude, I would be willing to bet you 90% of my deaths in Castlevania games are either bosses that have just taken all my health or being bounced back into a pit, probably by a Medusa head.
Yeah,
Like that is 90. Very rarely do I just run out of health fighting enemies. It's either it's gonna one shot me by knocking me into a hole, or a boss is gonna just eat my ass.
yeah,
Like it's gonna be one of
exactly.
those 2 things. Okay,
That is exactly.
now you mentioned the Medusa heads. I want to talk about being able to fight them because you have 2 different options to fight in this game. But we got to stop here. I'm going to let a sponsor peddle their wares. I'm going to drink some water, and then we'll come back and we'll get into what I consider to be the biggest debate Bradley and I have about this game. So we'll be right back after this. Okay, so if you've never played this game, when you first fire it up, You get to choose between two characters. I'm gonna ask you to weigh in on the story in a minute here because I have no fucking I don't even care. Like I don't know who any of these characters are. I don't fucking care.
I
You're
got
going
it.
to fight
I know what
Dracula. I
happens.
don't know.
Yeah.
But there's two different characters, and one character has the classic Castlevania whip, and one character has a spear. And they control similarly, but there's a couple of minor differences. You know, the whip, you can like grab the roof and like swing along and stuff like that. The spear, you duck and then you can do like a big dragoon jump up in the air. I think the whip has a little bit more options as far as where you can aim it, but I may be incorrect on that. Like when you're fighting enemies, I don't know. All I'll know is I tried playing as both once, and then I was like, I am 100% team spear. And you said that you're a whipping guy, hey?
I'm a whip man, and I actually have two very good reasons as to why I'm a whip man. Number one, I just I suppose when it comes to Castlevania, I'm a little bit purist. Although, I mean, like in the Metroidvania ones, I don't mind because you're going to be changing around your weapon all the time. But in like a side-scrolling Castlevania game like this, I do like the classic feel of just having the whip. But I have an even better reason. The reason I picked the character that I picked had nothing to do with how they played at all, in my opinion. I've actually never even used the guy with the spear. The reason I picked the character I picked, John Morris, is because I enjoy the fact that Castlevania Bloodlines, this will bleed into the story a little, Castlevania Bloodlines is weirdly a sequel not to another Castlevania game, but it's a sequel to Bram Stoker's Dracula, the book. And John Morris is the son of Quincy Morris, who was the person who ultimately kills Dracula in the actual novel. And I really liked that connection to the novel. It's one of my favorite books. And so I really like that connection with the novel. So that's why I chose John Morris.
You and your brother are the two most cultured people I know. Like every time Brad or Mark is on like Pro Monkey Dishwasher, he's teaching me about like plays and history facts and I'm like telling him about like the other day I explained to him what a rouge in the Canadian Football League is because he had no fucking idea. And I'm sitting here right now being like, I don't know, it's just like one guy has a leather jacket and a whip and one guy wears a skirt and has a spear. And I like the skirt spear guy. And then you're like, oh, well, actually, this is the son of the person that killed the original. And I'm like, holy fuck, I just thought we were going to kill a vampire. I have no, fuck me. Fair enough. To be fair, the first time I played it, I picked the whip guy as well, just because I do also feel like Castlevania should be played with a whip. But then for the sake of the review, I was like, well, I need to try the spear guy. And then I just was like, I went on a way better run with the spear guy. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I'm team spear.
I think the spear guy has better range. Now, I want to ask you a question about the spear guy. When you jump, can you then throw your spear diagonally upward?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
I believe you could. I know you could shoot it straight up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost positive that you could. I just found it very difficult. I don't know why. I want to say you could, but I didn't very often. I went just straight up or else forward or backwards. Whereas the whip guy, I didn't find it like you could do it without even like you didn't have to jump, did you? Like you could just do it from the ground, couldn't you? And just swing it up at 45 degrees.
You can't, and that is also a beef I have with this game. I think maybe the hardware doesn't allow for it, like the Sega Genesis. But like, yeah, in Super Castlevania 4, you could whip in any direction at any point. You can only whip diagonally while jumping, which I think sucks.
Yeah. I want to this. I genuinely can't remember if I could do that with the spear or not. And I fucking fuck. I haven't played this in like a week, and I don't know. I clearly have an old man's memory, but I don't. I'm useless. I don't remember. I don't fucking remember. But
That's all good.
But that does make sense though. That the whip would have a little bit more. Yeah. Whereas the spear is just kind of stabby. What I really like about this game, and I know Castlevania 3 does this. I haven't played a ton of Castlevania 3 yet, but I really want to. One thing I really like about this game is depending on which of the two characters you pick, there's a couple of forks in the road, and you don't really get to choose. You can only do one.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's there's one part in particular where you're climbing like the tower, and the whip guy doesn't climb any levels. He just goes straight into the next area and then has to use his whip to swing across holes. Whereas the spear guy can't get across that giant hole, but he can do the super jump and climb all the way to the top of the tower and play a different part of the area.
The spear guy has a super jump? What is it? Yeah. I didn't play as the spear guy at all.
Yeah, when you hold duck, he starts to flash, and then when you jump, you basically jump the height of the screen.
Oh my god, that would be so useful in
Yeah,
this
it
game.
is. It is. But that what I like about it is that it gives it like on it's not artificial, it's genuine replay when you were a kid. If you do get good enough to beat this, which I as a kid, I wasn't beating this anytime soon. But if you do get good enough to beat this, then you've got those difficulty settings. You could turn down the number of levels or number of lives. You could turn up the difficulty setting. Plus, you have two characters to play as who do play a little bit differently, and you do get to do different parts of the games. So there's a lot of like there's replayability to a game that is basically a single player beat it in an hour game, and that's a hard thing to do. To give a
Totally.
game like that replayability, especially because it's not like there's any customization. You don't buy weapons, you don't set your loadout or anything like that. It's giving you a reason to keep going back, and that's just polish. That's all that is. It's just polish. And
I'm
I'm a
glad
big
you
fan of
did
it.
the research on that because I had Googled and was like, do I have to play this game as both the characters to really like experience it? And Google was like, it's 95% the same. And I did no research on what the 5% was.
Yeah, I looked that up too because I was like, "Fuck, is there like a separate like?" Because if I don't, I'll get messages from people being like, "Ah, you didn't get the secret ending where you fucking beat it with both people and then drink 3 cokes in front of the moon while you're on one knee on the 12th and it fucking goes red and then a castle shows up." Or wait, no, that's Symphony of the Night. Apologies, that fucking game.
What the
No,
fuck?
I did look it up to see that, but no, you're right. It does seem 90% the same.
Yeah.
We kind of mentioned this a little bit, but I feel like I like them enough that I feel I need to go back to it. Boy, fuck Bradley, I like the graphics in this game.
Boy,
Like
it
this
is.
is
They're so
oof.
appealing.
It's 16-bit gaming at its best as far as a visual perspective.
And I don't know
Like
how better to explain this, but these graphics are so like characteristically Sega comparatively to the characteristically Nintendo
yeah,
visuals of Castlevania 4.
yeah,
It feels so individualistic. Like there's not another Castlevania game that plays like this because this is the Sega one. This
yeah.
and they made it its own thing, and I love that because
I
now
do,
they would
yeah.
have just put Castlevania 4 on both consoles.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. And dude, and it's so funny you say that because I've never been able to figure out how to say it, but that's exactly how I feel too. Like I've grown this like affection to the Sega Genesis because I love the way its games look, and I don't really know how to say to
It
like
just
just they
looks
just look
Sega.
different. And
It's
I
just
just I'll be honest with you, for the most part, listen, I'm a Super Nintendo kid through and through. Everybody knows that. But for the most part, I like the way Genesis games look better than Super Nintendo games. They just look
oh boy.
so bright and so they pop and they look like they have layers. And I'm looking at like this game and the Streets of Rage 2 is so sexy, and Gunstar Heroes and Sonic, and boy, Genesis games just look so crisp.
You know,
I don't know what
I
it
will say
is.
that Phantasy Star 4 is a very good looking game.
Yeah. Like
That is,
I just,
yeah.
maybe it's the blast processing. That must be what it is. Is
Can you
their
tell me
blast
what
processing?
Can you tell me what blast processing means? Do you know?
No. But that's
No, me
because
neither.
Sega can't, because it doesn't mean anything.
To be
I read
honest,
a
I don't even think I know what like 16-bit means if I'm being honest. I just know it's a
I,
thing we throw around.
if I'm being honest with you, I don't quite know what 16-bit means either. For the love of God, everybody, please don't write it and explain. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to be rude, but like I don't care. I just know it's like a thing. I don't care.
I'm sure
I
it has
did
something to do with the computer. I don't care
yeah.
as long as gameplay, you know.
I did read a book all about the history of Sega, and it was a really fascinating book.
Cool.
And it talked about how like blast processing was like kind of a thing, but it never really mattered. It was just something that they made like it sounded good, so like let's put that on the cover, blast processing.
It
But
sure sounds fun. It's
it
like
does.
it sounds
And
like a
like
blast if anything.
and I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Listen, like you take I mean, sure, there's some great looking Super Nintendo games. There's some great looking Super Nintendo games. But like I just dude, even stuff like Golden Axe and those I love the way Sega Genesis games look. And I'm playing this one and in particular some of the backgrounds in this one. I love the factory when you're walking in front of that chain link
Oh,
fence and like I think you
yes.
can see the castle way off in the distance behind you and stuff. Boy, it's just a sexy looking game, man. It
I
looks
think
so good.
I think, and I don't think this is specific to Bloodlines. I think this is something that that it shares with Castlevania 4. But this era of Castlevania was really good at using like different perspectives to show what was in the foreground and what's in the background, which would have been relatively novel at the time. I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And it's so easy to like, it's so easy for a game developer to mail in the background because
Totally.
sure, like a nice background is great, but at the end of the day, that's not where your eyes are focusing. I only have one. Like my eye has to focus on the guy I'm controlling or I'm dead in the fucking water. But like, so you're not really looking at the background, but it's just, and I've said this countless times on this podcast, when we look back at these retro games and we review them and stuff like that, the ones that really stand the test of time are the ones where you can see that the developer, like they really tried, like they really, and I know that sounds like such a dumb thing to say, but like they really tried. They didn't just mail it in. They didn't just half-ass it. They really just, they put everything they had into it. And games like this, you see that background, you see the bright, colorful graphics. There's 2 different characters to play as with 2 different routes to take through the game and stuff like that. And I'm like, they really tried with this game.
Totally.
And that effort holds up.
It's very, very clear that this is something they weren't just like phoning in to have another Castlevania game for the Sega kids.
That's right.
This was a Castlevania. This was a full-fledged Castlevania game that they made and put care into. And you know what? I think that, like, as far as, like, actually playing the game, I think I've said a few times that, like, I think Castlevania 4 does a few things better, but I think for the most part, I find this game more fun than Castlevania 4. I think this game is easier to play. I would be quicker to play through this again than Castlevania 4.
Yeah, I mean, I really got to let it simmer before I officially declare one better, but they're easily my top 2. And like,
Yeah.
and I thought Aria of Sorrow was really, really, like, I'm interested in more of those GBA games because I liked how Aria of Sorrow went more Metroidvania-y and everything. But these are like, hey, you have an hour? There's, especially in today's society where we're all so busy and we're all talking about how games these days are all 60 hours long. There's something to be said for just a game that's an hour of fun and then it's over.
Yeah, I agree.
And a lot of those, dude, I mean, you've played them. There's so many NES and Super Nintendo and Genesis games that are just ass. And so it's like the ones the ones that stand up, like really, they really fucking stand out now.
I always see this in like pretty much any given like top 5 Sega Genesis games. Like this game is on the list in pretty much all instances because it's so solid.
Yeah, it would probably make mine. Like
yeah,
it'd probably make mine.
Yeah. Do you know? I'm gonna ask this blanket because I want to go off for a hot minute. But do you know what the game is about? Like, do you know what the story is?
No, I have no fucking idea. I have that written down. Story question mark. I have no fucking clue. So the floor is yours. I'm gonna go get something to eat. You tell everybody how this game works.
All right, I can explain how this game works to everybody. So essentially, this game follows a countess named Elizabeth Bartley, who's from the 1500s. She was killed when she was pretty young, and then she's resurrected in the early 1900s. And then she realizes that she's in Transylvania, and she wants to kind of travel to where Dracula was killed in London to bring back the spirit of Dracula at a castle that's in London. And in doing that, she is pursued by 2 vampire hunters who know about what's going on. Now, also, if I'm wrong about this, please just feel free to yell at me. I don't care. John Morris and Eric, whatever the guy with the spear's name is. And essentially the way the game works is that each level is a different country in Europe that you are chasing this woman through Europe. So I think the first one is in Transylvania. Like the first level is in Transylvania. Then from there, I think you go to Greece. From Greece, you go to Italy because you were talking earlier about like that tower that kind of sways back and forth. It's literally the Leaning Tower of Pisa that you're in.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. And
I didn't know that was blue inside.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's accurate. I've never been. The fourth one, the factory, I think that's like somewhere like Germany or something. But I know the fifth one is Versailles, which is in France. And then the sixth level is like the new castle in London that Dracula was kind of like kicking at in the book Dracula, where now he is laying and then is resurrected there. And you know what? This is one of my favorite Castlevania stories. I think this one is so cool. Not because it just connects to the book, but because it isn't just all at Dracula's castle. You're moving through like specific and recognizable monuments.
Yeah. I I mean, other than the fact that I didn't recognize them, yes, I do agree with that. I do like that the setting changes level by level, and it like every like, between levels, it cuts to that like overworld map, and you can't control it. It just shows you where you're going, and instead of just going to like a different area of the castle, you're going to a different area of the planet instead. And I did quite
Totally.
enjoy that. Like I assume that I've never owned a Castlevania game outside of emulating or playing them on like Switch Online or renting them or whatever the fuck. So I've never
Mhm.
had the instruction manuals. I assume in the manuals they would tell you some of this story, but I've never taken the time to like. I've always just been like, no, we're just trying to kill this old vampire guy.
They
Like
kind of
that's all it's ever been to me.
there's like a cutscene at the beginning, like when you turn on the game before the press start, that kind of explains very loosely what I just said, but it's like pretty loose. I definitely had to do some
Okay.
external research on that one.
But I also think one of the cool things about these games are like if you want to do that and you want to learn more about it and stuff, you can. If you don't care, then it's like you're good.
Yeah, if
Just
you're
jump
just
in
like
and fight zombies and shit. Yeah.
I'm here to fight bats and medusas. Well, I'm not here to fight medusas, but I'll do it if they're there.
Yeah. Piece
Yeah.
of cake. I
Yeah.
like that too. The
Yeah.
only other thing I had written down here that I didn't mention yet that I wanted to is and I will say that like I don't think it's bad. I think the music is very good, but I don't like the music as much as I like Super Castlevania.
It's a little bit more bit crushed here than in the Super Nintendo game.
Yeah.
Um, but to me, it really does. It sounds more akin to like the original trilogy soundtrack, which does feel like a bit of a step back. But I don't know. It didn't bother me too much. I
No.
still enjoy the music.
Yeah, totally. I didn't find it like deplorable or anything. It just, dude, this like one of my all-time favorite tracks in any video game is that opening track to Super Castlevania 4, which is just the Castlevania song, but just
Ramped
remixed
up
and
with
done
some
in like
guitar.
yeah, like just taken up about 20 notches. And like I didn't think the music in this game was bad, but nothing in this soundtrack hit me like that song does.
Yeah. There's
Like,
there's one more thing I forgot to mention, and I should have mentioned when we were talking about bosses, but I have it written down here. This game has the worst boss in Castlevania history. As much as I love most of the bosses in this game, there is a boss that is literally just a pillar, and then he turns off the lights, and then they turn on the lights, and there's these two giant faces just looking at each other. This is the worst boss fight in Castlevania history.
well, the only thing that bothered me about that boss fight was that I died 2 or 3 times trying to figure out how to hurt it.
Yeah, me too. I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? And then when I figured out that you can just hit the faces when they show up and they die really quickly, I was like, oh, well, it's not even fun. Like, it's so easy and just takes forever.
Yeah, I literally just stood in the middle of the map and just shot straight up and like just hit whenever they would appear and then they would disappear and then I would just stand there again. Like it did seem oddly out of place for a game that had so many great boss fights. That boss fight did seem and when I first got to the boss fight and the lights went out and then those two heads showed up, I'm like, all right, this looks cool. This is gonna be neat. And then it
Yeah,
turned out that like, oh no, that's it. That was the whole fight. Yeah. I'll give you that. That fight wasn't anything special. So
totally.
and
Yeah.
and that fucking hallway leading up to those guys, where all you have to fight all those knights that throw the boomeranging axes, either up or down. Like they're not too bad, but then there's the chandeliers falling from the roofs. You have to remember to look out for them. And then there's this one purple knight boss, not even a boss, just an enemy at the end. That like I, for the fucking life of me, cannot figure out what to do other than just run into him and let him hit me once and just get through to the other side. Like he just took a big bite out of my ass every time I got there. And I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you have any idea what enemy I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I know exactly
Do you
the
have a
part you're talking
strategy
about.
that I don't have?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Because like
Yeah,
I
if
just
I'm being honest.
I hate to do that. Like I hate when I'm just playing like fuck it, I'm just gonna run into you and take the hit and run through. But I was like, I don't know how else to fight you, sir.
Yeah,
You were wrecking me.
you know what is also like another neat thing? Like this is an example of them using the hardware in a way I thought was cool. Is that there are areas, and maybe this is just for my character, there are areas where you're actually walking on the ceiling, and I actually really like those parts too, where you're walking on the ceiling and every time you jump, you're actually going down on the screen, and like your gravity is at the top. Did your
Yeah.
character get these? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
there was some of those. Yeah. No, they
Yeah.
were pretty dope.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
god.
really like those parts.
That just reminded me of something though, and I have to bitch about this. Dude, that jungle level, right near the beginning where there's
With
like
the
all
flowers, yeah.
yeah, like so the flowers are fine. They're like raining pollen down on you, and if you touch the pollen, then your left is right and your right is left for a few seconds. Like that's fine. But you go through them, then you get to this really cool part where there's like a fountain, but then the fountain turns into blood, and then all these skeletons come out of the ground and you fight them. Also very cool. But then you get to this part where you're in like a wooded area, and I don't know what these things are like monkey scorpions that hang from the trees and throw coconuts at you.
Oh yeah, and they
But
have
like
like a really irregular swing. Yes, I hate these.
I can't kill them. Like I can, but not without taking just a pounding. I found that to be the single hardest enemy in the game to fight.
Me
Were
too.
those
I agree.
I don't get they're so sporadic, and some of them throw coconuts and some of them don't. And I
And some
just found them so infuriating.
and
Fuck.
sometimes they'll hit you, and then you'll hit them back, and then they'll just speed up so fast that they can hit you before you can get out of the way.
Yeah. But okay,
sometimes
good.
not. Sometimes
Yeah,
they don't
no.
do that.
I found no pattern to that. Like that's one of my favorite things about old games is finding the pattern of enemies. Like, cause usually they do something to like telegraph what attack they're gonna do or whatever the fuck. But those guys, I was like, I have no fucking clue. Yeah. I have to get through this with this, and like I basically am wasting a life running through there because I know I'm gonna take too much damage. I couldn't
Totally.
figure them out. All right, good. It wasn't just me. Good. Fuck those guys. Fuck.
They're worse than Medusa heads. Boo.
Oh God. Fucking
Boo,
drove me
tree
crazy.
scorpions.
I still don't know what they are.
Yeah.
They do kind of look like monkey, scorpion, tree guys with coconuts. I don't fucking know.
Totally.
Um,
I love
Are
this
we
game.
good?
Thank you so much, Adam, for letting me talk about this game. I haven't
Nah,
played it in
dude.
like 10 years, so it was really nice to revisit.
this was one I was so glad when you reached out because I was like, I don't mind doing them solo. Like I did one last week for Tiny Toon Adventure solo, but I'm like, I've probably played 50 hours of that game in my life. I could no problem. That's easy.
Yeah.
Castlevania, I'm like, I feel like a noob to this franchise that some people love so much. So it's nice to have somebody else in here to help because otherwise I don't think I can lift all the heavy lifting. So I was, man, when you reached out and you're like, holy fuck, is there any chance you need a guest? I was like, oh, thank the Dracula gods. Yes, I do need a guest.
More Castlevania on Remember the Game, baby.
Dude, that's because this is episode 288, I think.
It's also the 4th time I've talked about this series on this podcast.
That's what I was gonna say. I've done 5 Castlevania games. I think we've done the original, Super Castlevania 4, this one, Aria of Sorrow, and Symphony of the Night. And
they
you've
just
been the
keep
guest
getting
on
better.
practically all of them.
Yeah, all of them except the original Castlevania, which I think was my brother.
Might have been, yeah. That's a long time.
There's always a
I-
McCue around.
Always a McCue hanging around. I keep like 4 more of them in the closet just in case I need one.
Yeah.
They're there to break.
You got an
Um,
extra.
So I just before we get into scoring this thing and getting out of here, the next Castlevania, and I'm not going to play another one for a while, but the next Castlevania game I want to play, like come hell or high water, it's time, is Castlevania 3, which I keep hearing is super hard, but I also keep hearing is super good, and I love NES.
I won't be on the show then. I won't be on the show because it's simply impossible, that game.
I was going to ask you, have you played it? Is it as hard as they say?
It is of the originals, like of the original NES games, it's the only one I haven't beaten.
Okay.
Not from lack of trying. Not from lack
Fair
of trying. I've gotten to the last boss of that game, and I've like, maybe I'll save it. Maybe we will do that one. But like, I just can't figure out the last boss. I can't figure out how it's possible. It is so impossible.
All right. I'm looking
It's one
forward
of
to eventually playing it. I can't wait.
It's one of those bosses where you're like, I couldn't even comprehend how you could beat this.
Right. But I just like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why I'm like this. I have this, maybe it's from growing up on the NES. I don't know. Maybe it's from my parents like putting cigarettes out on me while I was playing the NES. I don't know why, but I'm like,
You have a very specific set of skills.
I have I wouldn't even say I'm good. I really enjoy tough NES games. I don't even like most other tough games, but tough NES games, I'm sadistic. I don't know what it is about them. I'm just like, yes, hurt me. Let's go. So I gotta try this one. But that's down the road.
You're the only person I've ever known to beat Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the NES, as far as I know.
And I wear that as like a badge of honor. I'll fucking crack your code, Castlevania. I'll get there. Anyway, Castlevania Bloodlines. We got to score this thing. I had a scale. Where was it here? It was set in 1917. Was that the year that it was set in? I
think that is true.
19,
let me see.
yeah,
1917.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's score it out of that. Out of 1917, what would you give Castlevania Bloodlines?
I'm not going to give it the full 1917. Hold on, wait. When does Dracula take place? When is that? The late 1800s? 1897. Sure, I'll give it that. 1897. Why not?
That's a solid. Yeah, I like it. That's like a 9.5.
It's really one of the best Castlevania games, in my opinion. Top 3 for me, with Symphony and Area being a bit above, but one of the best.
What cost it points?
What cost it points? Medusa heads. I don't like the wall. And I think even though you do, I don't love the thing in stage 5 or 6 where they clip the screen and you got to figure. I don't like that. I don't think it works very well.
Fair enough.
But other than that, great.
No, that's good. I'll give it 1850. It's a good fucking. It's like a 9 out of 10 video game.
Good year.
I'm damn determined to get my hands on a Sega Genesis this year. A few of you have reached out offering to send me one. Thank you. I can't accept that. I will buy one, but I appreciate it. And it's not cheap, unfortunately, but this is one that I'd like to get my hands on eventually. Cause I'm like, this is like my favorite Genesis game is Streets of Rage 2. And then Gunstar Heroes is probably number 2. But this might now officially be number 3. Like, I really like this fucking game.
That is a wild take that Streets of Rage 2 is the best Sega Genesis game. And
no, my favorite. Not the best. My favorite.
Because I was just going to say, like, in this talk about games that you love about Sega Genesis, you didn't mention one single Sonic game.
Here we go. I don't want to get yelled at by everybody, but, like, I think the Sonic games are fine. I don't think they're that great. I think they're gimmicks. They're fine.
How do I hang up this call real quick?
They're fucking gimmicks. They're about running fast. Sonic Mania is the best Sonic game. I'll never move off that. Sonic Mania took the original 16-bit Sonics and made them really good. I like Sonic 2 and 3 and Knuckles quite a bit. I don't like Sonic 1 very much, but I like 2, 3, and Knuckles quite a bit. But I like Streets of Rage to me is like perfect. And Gunstar Heroes is Contra better. And then
I kind of like the whole quadology of Sonic games on the Sega Genesis. I think there ain't a bad one among them.
I've gotten yelled at over my opinions on Sonic 1 too many times. But anyway,
you're right. I'm so sorry. We'll move away from this.
Yeah, we're good. Everybody knows at this point. If you're still listening after the Sonic Adventure 2 episode, then you've accepted where I stand. I like Sonic.
That game sucks, though, to be fair.
Oh, fuck. Anyway,
that game sucks.
Bradley, if people want to come by and yell at you for your gaming takes or say hi or whatever the fuck, where can they watch you play video games?
Well, if you want to watch me play video games, you can head over to twitch.tv/videogameodyssey, or if you just want to see what I've been playing and seeing what video games I'm logging, you can check out my Instagram, which is The Gaming Odyssey, I think.
Yeah, so he hesitated.
I'll give Adam the links. He'll be fine.
Yeah, there'll be a link in the description of this podcast. You just find it there because that's your best bet. Bradley,
I only play long RPGs, so buckle up.
Two episodes in 3 weeks. I rarely bring someone on this frequently, but you're a good guest, and you were the only person I know that likes that has played Castlevania Bloodlines enough to come on the show. So it kind of was a 2 for 2. Thanks for doing this, man. Good game. I like this game.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I was very excited when you were like, nobody's doing this, and I jumped right on ship.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often enough for my tastes. Yeah. So good shit, buddy. Go play some more Rebirth.
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm going to do. Thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah. And that is going to do it for this week's episode. Bradley, thank you so much for giving me a call and talking Castlevania Bloodlines. I appreciate it. And, of course, to all of you for listening to this show, thank you so much. I know there's a ton of retro gaming podcasts out there, and that you took a chance on ours. Well, that warms my heart, which needs warming because it's like 30 below here in Edmonton today. So I appreciate it very much. And quick shout out one more time. Thank you to Arcade for partnering with the podcast. I'm really, really excited about what they're doing. And I genuinely mean it when I say I think it's a great idea. The games really are fun. And I hope you'll take a chance to check them out. Look for the link in the description of this podcast. Swing by, enjoy some free fun games, try to win some cash, and use the promo code HOTDOG to win some extra credits every day. And I'll shout out the leaders on the Remember the Game leaderboard next week on the show. All right? Speaking of next week, we'll be talking Maniac Mansion for both the PC and the NES. I've been playing it more on the NES, and I'll never say these words again, I actually prefer it on PC. Ugh. But we'll be talking all about that then. Hopefully I can beat it by then. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'll give it a shot. And if you're a Patreon, I'll be back tomorrow with Expansion Pass 202, my Mario vs. Donkey Kong review, Game Patch on Friday, and a whole nother slab of podcasts next week. Oh yeah, and I'm on Twitch. I'm really trying to grow my Twitch. I've had a lot of fun over there. A lot of people have been coming by and saying hi, so check it out, twitch.tv/rememberthegame. It's free to follow, and then you'll know when I'm online. All right. I'm going to thank some Patreons. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll holler at you again in 7 days. All right? Cheers, so long, goodbye. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I could not puke up all the content I churn out every week without all of your support. The following people are at the senior executive vice president level or higher at patreon.com/rememberthegame, and as such, I am contractually obligated to thank them as quickly as possible. So, in alphabetical order. A huge thank you to Remember the Game Hall of Famer Slick fucking Rick. A dude named Adam, A.B. Killen, Aaron Lawson, Adam Blank still has reviewed Mario Galaxy, Adam Blank still has reviewed Sly Cooper 2, Adam Martinet, Adam's former assistant, Alex McIntyre, Alex R., Alex Ramos, Alexander Camps, Alpha Kenny 1, Andre, Andrew Wright, Andy Hudson, Angry Tix, Archangel Otaku, A-Town, Atrio Wormwood, Bearded Bastard, Beaver Boy, Beef Dingleberry, Beers of War, Benjamin Atkins, Big Daddy Randall, Big the Cat, Biddy, B-Cuz19, Blaine the Hoagie Man, Blobby Rogers, B Money, Bobby Litton, Brandon DeZeba, Brian Richmond, Bula, Burt Macklin, Buy Me Bone Storm, Cam Nelly 23, Can't Destroy Her, Captain Steve N, Carbon Fiber Zombie, Cesar, Chaz Hammond, Chevy Boy 9211, Chicken Gizzards, Chris Fleury, Chris Hill's Lazy Eye, Christian Gabriel, Christopher Britt, Chugger 22, Claptrap Stamp, Cody Richardson, Cody Thompson, Colin Bollinger, Confused But Still Here, Dan Fusselman, Dan of Dissect That Film, Daniel, Darth Skywalter, Dave McGee, Dave Thompson, David Schroeder, DBXJ, Decoy Man, Dem Boys on the Roof, Devin Collins, Diablo Spartan, Donnie the Dude Walter, Doogie, Doug Dorr, Drugs Bad MK, Earl, Elephant Calves, Elijah Burns, E-Man Trucker, Eric James, Eric Hopewell, Fallen Snow Kiku, Faded Sufferance, Flinny 123, Franklin Badge, Frosty Bear, Frosty Feet 492, Fuzzy 99, General Fury, G9PSX, Gabe, Glue Scappin, Graham Kennedy, Guy Who Does Things, Hagel Waffle, High Plains Drifter, Hired Goons, who? Hitchy Poo, Holmes, Homer J. Fong, I canceled my Netflix to afford this shout out, Itchy Nutsaru, Isaiah, Jameer Williams, James Clark, Jeff Bergeron, Timothy, Jake Callahan, J Nasty 15, Joe Buck, Joe the Sandman, John M. Watkins, John Woodruff, Johnny from Virginia, John of the Adult Children Podcast, Jordan, Juris Dr. Mario, Just a Fish, Just Car Pranks, Justin Blair, Kayach, Kevin Monroe, Kia Pup, Laces Out Dan, Leroy Westrich, Lil Bunny Fufu 89, Liquor Like Luigi, Lord Long Rob Von Hugendong II, Lord Stay Puff, Lousy Smarch Weather, Lucas Shaman, Lucas Valadez, Madam Nutsich, Makeshift Mallow Magic Money, Marcus Mendoza, Mark Sneed, Matt Babineau, Matt Zeus, Maverick Marty, Max Lagru, Max Sandin, Megamav, Mellow Yellow 8787, Mercury 869, Mike Maloney, Mizuru, Monstrous D Boner, Morgan, Mr. Papa Giorgio, Musty Beetle, My Left Nut, Nathan Tremblay, Neil Cooper, Nerdy Hybrid, Nick Creature, No One Cares, Nothing Can Possibly Go Wrong, Oroku Saki's Gardener, Phil Lencher, Philip Ramsey, Fill Up My Mouth with Farts, Plow Carrying, Postman, Put It in H, Quiet Place Queen, Radioactive Man, Randy Barrage, Rated X, Int, Robbie Air, Roger Stallbox Pool Cleaner, Rush's Dog Walker, Ryan Kinchin, Ryan Perry, Ryan Whitcomb, S, Sabin, Sam Carpenter, Scary Terry, Scott Brooks, Sector, Shank the Rat-Faced Bastard, Shoeboxer, Sharonic, Scissorfish, Sleeper Hit, Sofrito, Bandito, Solomon, Soto, Sour Goat Face, Squeak Nut, Squints, Standard Ass Brian, Steve Dulk, Storm Beagle, Stud Still Smash, Super Jess, Tadpole, Tazzlehoff, Ted Explosion, The Big Deal, The Keegs, The Mutts Nuts, Starbles, The Cardigan Wearing Wrestler, The Fletchman, Theodore, The Supreme Chorizo, The Thomas Childs, Thomas Smith, Timmy the Exuberant Turtle, Timothy Sabrinsky, Titan 420, Toby Opp, Tom Houlihan, Triple, Tyler Bauer, VOS Rager, Works For Me, WestGen, Wilco, Wimp 15, Wolfgang Darren, Wolf Magic 21, Would You Kindly, Wyatt the Surgeon Who's Not a Surgeon Row, X Maverick X, Youngster TK, Zach Shepard, Zamato, Zane Donovan, and Zonko 504. That was one of the best batches of shoutouts I've ever done. Ha ha! Thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate all of you. Cheers.